My daughter's contract is.
Just a minute. Come up with.
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Wilson County Board of Education for March 21st, 2021 to order. Members of the board, on our agenda, there is a call for the approval. What is your pleasure?
Madam Chair. Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Mr. Mercer.
I'd like to ask that the board approve an amendment to the agenda to include in the Administrative Services report a request for funds from the county commissioners.
All right. So that would be under your action items, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you making that in the form of a motion, sir?
Yes. If need be, I will. I move that we approve an addition or an amendment to the agenda to include a request for funds from the county commissioners.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we amend the agenda to allow for under the action items for administrative services, request for funding from the county commissioners. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, the sign of nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. And members of the board, if you would add under your Administrative Services Committee, under the action items, item D, request for funds for various projects from the County Board of Commissioners. All right. Please know that this meeting is being televised on Spectrum and Greenlight Channel 22 and live streamed through the Wilson County Schools YouTube channel. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Thank you. We're approved the amendment. Now we entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as amended.
Oh, Madam Chair, I move that we approve the agenda for March the 21st, 2022, Wilson County Board of Education with the amendment
As amended,
as amended.
Second.
it has been moved by Mrs. Powell, seconded by both Mr. Breen and Mr. Mercer, that we approve the agenda as amended for the March 21st, 2022 meeting of the Wilson County Board of Education. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. And as I was previously stating, the meeting is being televised on Spectrum and Greenlight Channel 22. It's being live streamed through the Wilson County Schools YouTube channel, and the public can also view the meeting through the links on the Wilson County Schools Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages, and the Wilson County Schools website. Now, Mrs. Barnes, we're going to ask if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, to be followed by a moment of silence.
Please join me. I pledge
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Members of the board, if you would look at your minutes for February 21st, 2022, your regular board meeting. On page 7, there was an error in the hours of operation for the Summer Scholars Program. It's listed in the minutes as being from 8:30 to 1:30. That corrected time should be from 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And are there any other corrections that need to be made? That was page 7 of the February 21st minutes. Under the area of summer scholars, there was an error in the time. That will be from 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. instead of 8:30 to 1:30. For all of those summer offerings, thank you. Not just the summer scholars, but for all of the summer programs that were listed. If there are no other corrections, the chair will entertain a motion in regard to the February 21st, 2022 regular meeting, and at your places tonight were placed minutes of the March 17th, 2022 work session.
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Boyette,
I move that we approve the minutes of 2/21/22 and 3/17/22.
and for 221, that is with the stated
With the
corrections.
stated correction.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Boyette, seconded by Mr. Borkin, that the corrected minutes of February 21st, 2022, the regular meeting, and March 17th, 2022 work session be approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Under the chairman's report, first, there was a successful and an enjoyable spelling bee trivia night recently held on March the 3rd, sponsored by Wilson Education Partnership. We thank Porter and Spruill for the sponsorship of the board's team. and to the board members for their contributions in an effort to give back to the system by way of many grants and other efforts sponsored by WEP. A special thank you to Mr. Borkin for helping me stand in for all of you in a night that was quite interesting. We congratulate Mr. Breen and his team for their fourth place finish. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Borkin. It was fun. We congratulate the chorus teachers for bringing back In Harmony, which allows our students in the various chorus programs an opportunity to showcase their talents. And that event was held on March 13th. WEP will welcome your presence at the Boots, Bow Ties, and Golf event to be held on April the 7th at the Wilson Country Club. Tea time for the golf event is 1:30. The after party is 7 o'clock. Feel free to go to www.wilsonedpartnership.com for tickets. We have a reminder that kindergarten registration continues through the end of the month. This past Saturday, Wilson County Schools held a teacher job fair, which brought in a new cadre of potential teachers for our system. And hopefully we will find some of those persons that attended and applied joining us in Wilson County Schools for the education of our children. As a result of our joint meeting that was recently held with the county commissioners, we held a work session that you just approved the minutes for. And in the upcoming meetings, we will be going over and working continuously on plans that deal with our facilities. There will be a motion tonight, or we will be looking to apply for need-based funding for school construction. And we look forward to the results of those efforts, and we thank each and every one of you. And that concludes my report. I will now turn the meeting over to the superintendent for his report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members, audience members. There's been a lot of happenings since our last board meeting. We've celebrated National School Social Work Week, and if you do see any of our social workers out and about, please stop them and tell them thanks again for all they do for our students and their families. They're always on the go and always on the run, so you'll probably see them in between schools and headed out somewhere, and they do a fabulous job. So this was National School Social Work Week has already occurred, but again, any chance you get to thank them for the hard work they do is always welcomed. We had Read Across America Week, was the first week in March. Many of us, and you included, spent time in classrooms reading to students, and that's always a fun time and fun week, and truly helps remind us why literacy is so important for our events to promote reading and enjoy a lifelong love of reading. There's nothing better than spending that time in those classrooms with those students, and inevitably there's some questions that you get that you weren't prepared for. You realize how hard it is to read upside down with a book, trying to hold the pictures out, as well as to see the work that our teachers do every day that you take for granted sometimes with maintaining attention and behaviors. And our students really love seeing outsiders come in, and it's always a fun event. So that's one we look forward to every year. We've also seen National School Breakfast Week come and go this year. That was the second week in March. Myself and other staff members volunteered to help serve breakfast in schools across the district, and we know that's a very important start to the day for our students. And I wanted to thank our Director of School Nutrition, Jamie Neer, and her staff for their idea to get others involved in the hard work that the staff do each day that just magically happens, but magically happens through a lot of preparation and planning and hard work. Those staff members are there every day It was so impressive to see what they knew about each of the students as they came through, how they personalized it all for them every day, and started their day off with some kind of conversation that was unique to them. I was really blown away by that, and that's really powerful for anybody to watch that as a parent or as an administrator, see that magic happen. So thank you to them for their hard work and the things that happen behind the scenes every day. Dr. Fitch mentioned the spelling bee. Congratulations to Elm City Middle School for their win. The spelling bee and trivia contest through WP earned $13,000 that will go back into our schools. It's always fun and interesting when Robin Williams is in charge of an event. Mr. Breen throwing Eggo waffles at us was also interesting. The costumes were Netflix inspired, and some of our schools went all out, as we have photographic evidence to support that from now on, and we'll be using those randomly throughout the year to remind people why these events are so popular among our school system. The Fike High School Blood Drive was held March 10th. For those of you that aren't familiar with this is one of the most well-organized events and largest of its kind. The folks behind the scenes really do take a logistical nightmare and make it go so well for folks running in and out. And we appreciate everyone who took time to stop and donate blood. And that one is, again, another one that we're glad to see growing back up again after the pandemic. WAVE, our Wilson Academy of Virtual Education, was held March 7th through 18th of the application process. And so selection committee is now hard at work to determine who will be accepted and families will be contacted. We're glad to be able to offer this option for students and that focus on virtual learning. There is, of course, ongoing discussion about the virtual learning aspects and virtual schools across the state and at the state level. But we were one of the few school systems that did have a school number in place, and were able to set that up quite quickly for our families. So you'll be hearing more about that at a later date. Just to piggyback on about the job fair that was held just this past Saturday, it was really nice to see everybody in one spot. I think people were glad to be able to partake of that again after the pandemic. We had about 45 candidates stop through. The interesting thing about these candidates were these were fully licensed folks for the most part. And so it was a chance for us to go ahead and make some great hires. I think folks really enjoyed seeing one another again at the event and getting back into a routine. We had representatives from all of our schools there, and they really go all out on their tables and events. And there's a little bit of gamesmanship and fun teasing of each other as they go through the process of candidates coming through, but it's really a fun day. Thanks to HR and their staff for all the work they did to pull that together, and thanks to Darden for letting us host it there. It was a nice day, and again, it was good to see folks come in and out to want to come join our family. We had pre-K and kindergarten information night in early March. That was very well received by families who attended. But we want to remind families that pre-K and kindergarten registration is ongoing. We encourage families to register this month, but if you need more time, registration will be ongoing through August, but the sooner the better. So to register your student, click the enrollment tab at the top of our district website, and then there's step-by-step instructions to take you through the process. Or you can call the elementary school that your student will be attending for more information, and they'll walk you through as well. Some upcoming events. We've got March 23rd at 4. We're holding a virtual informational session for teachers and instructional assistants who are interested in our Opportunity Culture initiative. Opportunity Culture schools offer innovative team-based roles that allow teachers and instructional assistants to lead from the classroom, learn on the job, pursue teaching excellence together, and earn significantly more for reaching more students. We're really keyed up about expanding our Opportunity Culture initiative from 10 to 16 of our schools. Just a reminder, the 10 schools that implemented the OC this current school year are Barnes, Hearn, Jones, Lee Woodard, Wells, Gardners, Lucama, Vincent Bynum, Toys Knot, and Forest Hills. And then there are 6 schools that will implement the initiative next year, and those are Frederick Douglass, Winsted, Vic, Darden, and Spate. And teachers and instructional assistants can find out more at the link leadwithwcs.net. And I've had a chance to talk to some folks I know that participated in that at the job fair, actually, and that's been a very successful process and really pulled some folks into different roles that they're very excited about, that were teacher leaders in our classrooms and are now having even a larger impact in our schools. It's also time, as Dr. Fitch mentioned, when you're looking at your agenda and the minutes, to gear up for the summer learning opportunities that we're offering to students. We had a presentation last month at the board meeting, but staff members who are interested in working this summer just completed the application process, and we'll be sharing more information with families this week. There's also information on our district website under Summer Launch 2022. And there are quite a bit of different programs, so please take some time and look at that. It's a litany of things going on, so if you have questions, please follow up with us. For families that are interested in the reassignment process, that's ongoing from now until June 1st. The application is available online on our district website under enrollment. You would need to have an account in Scribs in order to access the application. If you're currently attending a school reassignment, remember you have to complete an application for renewal each year. We tell folks that each year, but it's often a good reminder, and again, that deadline is coming up June 1st. I'll be here before you know it. Please note that certain schools and grades or classes may be capped due to capacity, and those are especially crucial right now with some of the class size restrictions from the state. Dr. Fitch mentioned also the needs-based public school capital fund grant that we submitted for Frederick Douglass. We should find out in mid-April about those funds. Applications were due March 15th, and when I had a chance to drop the information off, we received word there were about, since then, 176 applications that went in. It was 15 when I dropped them off on Thursday, and the deadline was the 15th. And those projects total close to $2.7 billion. So it is a competitive process. There's only $395 million available in grant funds. So that puts in perspective. So we're hopeful our project will be selected like it was for Watt, and we'll find out sometime in mid-April. 2 final things. Spring break is on the horizon for our traditional schools. Kind of hard to believe, but it is coming at a good time and probably much needed at many households. Good Friday is April the 15th, and then spring break is April 18th through the 22nd. And one final item, board members, you have some homework to remember that we've scheduled a work session on Monday the 28th at 4 p.m. For long-range facilities planning, and that's also the budget work session at 4 p.m. in here. Madam Chair, that's the long list of items I have this month.
All right. Well, nothing ever says that we're not busy, so thank you so very
Yes,
much.
ma'am.
It is a point on our agenda where the public has an opportunity to give their input. Each person is granted 3 minutes for his or her presentation. This portion of the meeting is for the board to hear matters of interest from the public. However, obscene or vulgar statements, personal attacks, and statements reasonably perceived to be disruptive or imminently threatening to the orderly operation of the meeting shall not be permitted. We have several people who have signed up to address the board. Ms. Cornetta, as our timekeeper, please make us aware. And the first person on the agenda is Tyler Dean regarding easing of mass restrictions and New Hope drop-off.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to take a small portion of your time to once again thank you for your recent decision removing some of the COVID restrictions. I've seen the joy come back to my 3rd grader as we get ready for school in the morning. She's once again excited to return to school when she gets home. The first thing she does is fill me in with the exciting things that her very talented teacher, Miss Matthews, has taught her. She tells me about seeing her friends' smiles and waving to her other classes at lunchtime. My 5-year-old in the Hunt Pre-K program burst through the door when I got home the first day that masks were lifted and could not wait to tell me about playing with her friends in their centers and the tower and zoo that they had built out of blocks. While these things are minute and trivial to us as adults, the fact that she comes to tell me about the smile of a stranger puts into perspective how important these things are to children's development. My wife, a teacher at Hunt, has a new spirit these past 30 days. Prior to COVID, she would talk, and if you know my wife, talk some more about her students and what they had worked on during the day, and the moment that she saw the light bulb click for a student who was struggling to grasp the concept. Virtual learning was very hard on her. She went into teaching to build relationships with her students that would extend beyond the classroom and help prepare them for life, as well as for the fame and the money. She really did struggle, and returning to the classroom was a huge boost for her. It didn't take long, though, for the mask to impede more than just a potential virus. It impeded upon making those connections. Removing masks has allowed her to see her students smile, see the feedback when a student doesn't quite understand, and she's allowed to see that light bulb click again. It's been remarkable to see her passion return, as well as those seemingly endless stories of her student success. Again, the happiness of one teacher certainly was not the goal in removing masks and lightening the restrictions, but has made a world of a difference to this one teacher, and I'm sure that she's only representative of many, many more. I believe that all of those who are placed in a power of decision-making will quickly hear when somebody feels that you've made a wrong decision, but rarely do you hear when you've made the right decision. And I strongly feel that the right decision was made. I'm not sure if I have any time left, but if I do, I'd like to acknowledge the New Hope Elementary carpool team. A few short years ago, the New Hope drop-off line was the bane of my existence, and battling soccer moms to get through the intersection of Peck and Natch was the biggest challenge I would face for the day. The crew that's currently working drop-off and pick-up is first class. From Miss Anderson giving every child that comes her way, or greeting every child that comes her way, and offering a hug to start the day, to Mrs. Bunn and her cheerful greetings. What a wonderful way for any child to start the day. Miss Rollins and Coach keep that line moving with the efficiency that I've only other witnessed at a Chick-fil-A. Of course, I can't leave out Miss Clara, who's made getting in and out of New Hope possible. She keeps traffic flowing up and down Pack House, all with a smile on her face, rain or shine. She's truly become a welcome addition to my morning drive. I didn't mean to miss anyone and apologize to anyone whose name may have escaped me, but each one of them has become a vital part to a safe, quick, and welcoming drop-off line. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you. Bill Myers regarding gentleman's agreement.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Mills, Dr. Fitch, members of the board, let me thank you for this opportunity. Also want to personally thank you for all the hard work that you do for the children in Wilson County. My name is Bill Myers, and I'm the executive director of the Oliver Nestor Freeman Roundhouse and African American Museum. I'm also a retired assistant superintendent for personnel in Wilson County School System. I've come tonight to talk about the Gentleman's Agreement program and its impact on students and family and community. Now, I did not play a major role in getting that program started, but I have always been an advocate for students, especially disadvantaged students, and in this case, African American male students who certainly need our guidance, and they need to know how to navigate their classroom work and recognize their own self-work. I had the wonderful opportunity in 2017 to go to Washington, D.C. with this group. It was a thrill to visit the National Mall, the Martin Luther King Memorial, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. These young men did Wilson proud. It was inspiring to watch them experiencing our nation's history. When this program was started, that's what it was all about. The organizers said, let's get that large group of individuals out of last place. They're filling up our prison systems. They're being suspended from school in large numbers. Gangs are too open for them. There's too much killing going on. So I call on the school system to keep the Gentleman's Agreement program active as it was originally designed. I call on the community to be engaged, whether it's financially, as advocates for the program, or as mentors in the program. These students deserve the very best that we can give them. Thank you so much for your time.
Next, excuse me. Next, we have Sue Glisson regarding genderbreed person.
Hello, I've been trying for about a month to get an answer about whether or not the genderbread person is taught in the schools. I've tried to talk to a principal. I've emailed public comments and various staff. And I've heard that this genderbread person is taught in some schools in pre-K and in kindergarten. So I want to know, does Wilson County Schools teach the genderbread person in any of their grades? Do you plan to teach it next year? And this is not a library book. It's something teachers teach their children. What grades is this taught in if you're teaching it? In what way is transgender presented by grade, by gender identity, by gender expression, anatomically, and attraction? Also, I noticed on the employee dress policy includes gender neutral for Wilson County Schools. What is your definition for gender neutral dress? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Elizabeth Herrera regarding Wilson County Schools and community organizations.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Herrera. Today I would like to ask, what is the process for community partners to share events with Wilson County Schools? Casa Azul de Wilson recently hosted a college fair at Sally B. Howard this past Saturday, and a flyer was shared with Wilson County Schools. I would like to ask what outreach, if any, was provided to help support this event that was open to all students. I also ask, if no outreach was provided, how can I ensure that following events that we host can work together, where we can work together to spread the opportunities such as these? It would be beneficial as well if we could email the flyers to different staff in different schools to help spread the word and post flyers in populated areas around the school buildings. I would like to follow the process that is in place so in the future, Wilson County Schools and Casa Azul de Wilson can work together. It is also unfortunate to learn that Dr. Kendra King is no longer employed with Wilson County Schools, leaving her Executive Director of Student Services position vacant. I would like to ask, what is the timeline for this position to be filled, as Dr. King was usually my point of contact in regards to any events for families to receive support in the college application process in high school. And lastly, I would like to know, when will volunteers be able to enter school buildings? Because of COVID, I know the entrance to the school buildings has been very limited, but as the mask mandates are being lifted, when will visitors be allowed to enter? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next is Charles Bayo regarding multiple questions for school curriculum.
Hello, folks. Thank you for your time. I have several questions for the school board. First one is, does our school system teach students that in society they either belong to a group of people that are oppressors or a group of people that are oppressed? Does our school system accommodate students of different genders that are not consistent with their biological sex? If so, how, including bathroom accommodations? Has our school system adopted an anti-racist policy? This policy holds that all white people are racist and society is systemically racist. Has our school system implemented or planned to implement the social emotional learning program? If so, has our school system hired or plan to hire a company to help implement the program? If so, what is the name of the company and what are their credentials that qualify them to undertake the task? Does our school system plan on changing the grading system within the next year? Has our school system had student surveys during the school year? Does it plan to have surveys within the rest of the year? Are parents' consents obtained on all surveys? What surveys do do not require parents' consent? What is the procedure to obtain permission? Excuse me, folks. What surveys do not require parent consent? What is the procedure to obtain parents' permissions for surveys? What are the questions in the surveys? How are the questions obtained, and who decides what questions are in the survey? And lastly, has the Wilson County School System implemented the Behavior Intervention Monitoring Assessment System 2, research-based screen tool, shortened for BIMAS-2 program? If not, is it planning to implement it at any particular time? Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much. Flora Herrera Picasso, Title IX.
Good afternoon. My name is Flor Herrera Picasso, and I am the Executive Director of Casa Azul de Wilson. I will give my presentation in Spanish. Antes de dar mi presentación de hoy, quería informarle a la comunidad latina un cambio sobre lo que mencioné el mes pasado. El mes pasado les comuniqué que en el año 2021 Wilson County Schools contrató a la primera trabajadora social latina, Aislinn Ramírez. Parece que esa información ya no es correcta. Ella ya no es trabajadora social, ahora es especialista en comunicación para la oficina central. Entonces, Wilson County Schools ya no tiene a ninguna trabajadora social que es latina o que es bilingüe. Sospecho que a lo mejor la cambiaron de puesto porque empecé a dar mis presentaciones en español y les urgía tener a alguien que les interprete a ellos. Quiero destacar la ironía de todo esto. Tenemos un año pidiéndoles intérpretes de tiempo completo para más de 2,000 familias hispanohablantes de Wilson County Schools y nos dicen que no tienen los fondos necesarios y aunque los tuvieran, no hay gente capacitada y calificada aquí en Wilson. Pero tan solo de 2 meses de dar mis presentaciones en español, consiguen a su intérprete personal. No aguantaron no poder entender lo que se dice alrededor de ellos, mas sin embargo están completamente a gusto en dejar a todas las familias hispanohablantes sin entender. Esto no es justo y quiero que sepan que estoy al pendiente de cada una de sus acciones o falta de ellas. Ahora les quiero hablar de lo que pasó el mes pasado en la Junta Educativa. Un estudiante les presentó el tema sobre acoso y abuso sexual en las escuelas de Wilson County Schools. El distrito pasó a responder 2 días después con un comunicado por correo electrónico y por teléfono a todas las familias de Wilson County Schools diciendo que sus alegaciones eran falsas. Wilson County Schools nunca habló directamente con la joven antes de llamarla mentirosa públicamente. ¿Saben algo que sí les faltó en su comunicado? Recursos de apoyo para cualquier estudiante que sea víctima de acoso y abuso sexual. Me enteré por mi propia cuenta de algo llamado Título 9. Título 9 es un programa federal que recibe fondos federales para investigar casos de acoso y abuso sexual en las escuelas. El coordinador de Título 9 para Wilson County Schools es Norris Parker. Su correo electrónico es norris.parker@wilsonschools.nc.net. Pero esto me lleva a otra pregunta. Aparte de Norris Parker, ¿qué otros recursos tienen para estudiantes que son o fueron víctimas de acoso y abuso sexual? ¿Cuáles son sus estrategias preventivas o será que solo tienen estrategias reaccionarias? ¿Qué tipo de apoyos tienen disponibles para sus estudiantes que posiblemente sean víctimas de acoso o abuso sexual? ¿Cómo fomentan confianza con los estudiantes? Me da mucha pena y mucha lástima que Wilson County Schools tuvo el descaro de darle la espalda a cualquier otra víctima que a lo mejor esté considerando decirle a alguien por lo que está pasando. Wilson County Schools han destinado a muchas más víctimas a sufrir en silencio con sus acciones. You should be ashamed.
Next to address the board is Keith Danamilla regarding the photo exhibit for schools.
Buenas noches. También voy a hablar en español y quisiera informarles, yo soy un fotógrafo documental, he estado aquí en Wilson trabajando desde 2017 varias veces durante cada año. Empecé en el programa de Eyes on Main Street, creo que ustedes saben de las fotografías que estén allá en las calles de Wilson. Empecé en un proyecto documental de mostrar la gente, los eventos, la sociedad aquí en Wilson. He regresado, como dije, varias veces para documentar estas cosas y la fruta y el resultado de ese trabajo se encuentra ahorita en la Galería de Arte en Barton College. Y mi presencia aquí hoy noche es para invitarles a esta exposición en Barton College y para extender también una invitación para que difunden la información a los estudiantes y las maestras y maestros del sistema educativo aquí en Wilson. I didn't speak in Spanish just to give a little bit more work to the bilingual translator. I wanted to do a presentation in Spanish to show a little bit of support for Flor and her work in Casa Azul. What I was saying is that I have an exhibit that's currently at Barton College. It is work that I've done over the last 5 years here in Wilson, basically documenting the people, the events, the society here in Wilson. It's up on the walls at Barton College in the art gallery there. And it consists of 50 color photographs and 16 tintypes, an old process. And the tintypes also have interviews that go along with them. My idea with the interviews was to actively involve people in the Wilson community in that process of documentation that I was doing. The other thing that I want to point out about it is, first of all, it's a very appropriate exhibit for all ages. And I'll pass this out, and you can pass them around. And I hope you can visit. But I'd also like to invite and make an invitation to teachers to maybe take a field day and go over and see the exhibit, because I think it's interesting. One of the things that I tried to do in the exhibit is show something of the diversity that is here in Wilson. And I think that's an important part, and it gets us back to the idea that my original presentation in Spanish, I think, is very important. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Members of the board, you have heard each of the speakers who have come before us. What is your pleasure at this time? You may direct the chairman to respond to the concern on behalf of the board. You may direct the administration to respond to the concern. You may refer the matter to a board committee. You may refer the matter to the administration, or you may place the matter of concern on the agenda for a future meeting. What is your pleasure at this time?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Powell?
I suggest that we allow administration to respond to the public input questions.
I agree.
I'm in agreement.
All right. Dr. Mills, the board is asked that you, as administration, respond to the concerns that have been voiced by the persons of the community in their public input. And we will now move to the next item on the agenda, which is the committee reports. First is the Human Resource Service Committee. There is an action item regarding substitute pay proposal with duties.
Madam Chair and board members, the HR committee met this afternoon at 2:30. Members present were Mrs. Boyette, Mr. Boykin, the administration, Dr. Wilson, Dr. Parker, Dr. Mills, and the administrative assistants. And the committee discussed as an action item the substitute pay proposal with the duties. The current pay proposal was approved at the last February meeting for regular, non-certified subs, substitute pay with no license, and regular certified sub pay with any license. And the proposal was twofold. First of all, we had asked the administration to look at the increasing pay for extra duties and those who reportedly consistently work at least 75% of a pay period. And if you look at your précis, you can see at the top of it, under substitute pay, we did approve in February the current policy. And the second portion, or the second part, is the criteria that is being set for those who would get the extra duty pay. In order to qualify, they have to perform certain duties, as you can read for yourself, but also in some cases they create lesson plans, grade and record student work, et cetera, et cetera. And we wanted to note that Wilson County Schools is paying the maximum state substitute rate. And this is done so that we can recruit and retain substitutes. And the new pay proposal is being proposed with the certified subpay with any teaching license, getting $150 per day, and the certified subpay teaching license in the area would be $159 per day. It was recommended in our committee that we send out an email, or the administration send out an email to all those that will be receiving pay so that they will be aware in some efforts that they're getting the extra pay. And that we felt was a good motion or a good thing to ask the administration to do. And each of us said that we had heard no negatives in the community about the proposal, but everything seemed to be positive. So therefore, the committee is recommending to the full board that we approve the substitute pay proposal with duties.
Is that a recommendation or a motion?
A motion.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Barnes, seconded by Mrs. Boyette, that the board approve the substitute pay proposal with duties as presented by the administration. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we only had one action item, but there was a hearty discussion or dialogue about the role of our TAs in the system. And we wanted to make sure that we were clear about their duties, or they were rather, and the criteria that will be in place. So we are asking as an HR committee that the administration bring back information on the allotments for TAs that could be placed as a part of the agenda, and a proposal that will be presented to the full board for approval. And that drummed a lot of conversation, but we thought that was a good thing to ask.
All right, hearing that the committee has had, this is not an action item, but for information, and we are asking that the administration please be mindful of the request coming forth from the HR Services Committee in preparation for more information to come to the full board. All right?
That is my report. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, may I just say, I am so excited about the new substitute pay, and I want everyone and their brother to spread it around, that in Wilson County, you're getting $100 a day, or $140 if you're certified, and you can make $150 or $159 if you want to meet the criteria, or it comes 75% of a pay period. So spread the word. We need subs that'll come.
All right, then it is duly noted the energy and the enthusiasm with which Mrs. Boyette has made this plea to the community. And since we are live streamed, we are YouTubed, we are Twitter, Facebook, Wilson County Schools website, and whatever else, green light and Spectrum, maybe that enthusiasm will carry over and it will be.
Wish I could have done a dance, but it might not work.
I want to make one more comment.
Might be
as
little kids
well.
watching or something.
Fellow board members, I just feel good being a part of this board, because not only have we just passed the proposal for extra pay for our substitutes, but also the action that we took in giving our bus drivers an increase. And I think that has gone a long way in our community. So just a formal thank you to our administration and Dr. Mills for that. And that ends my report.
All right, thank you very much. And we're going to move on with the agenda, and Administrative Services Committee, Mr. Mercer.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
The Administrative Services Committee met this afternoon at 3:30, and we addressed three information items, and 3 plus the adjustment to the agenda action items. So at this time, I'd like to begin with the first information item, which is Center for Safer Schools Safety Grant update. Dr. Williams.
Yes, sir. We were awarded the Center for Safer Schools Safety Grant. From that grant, $60,000 will be for equipment, which will upgrade school system, camera system within school to be determined. $40,000 will be for services, mental health and crisis intervention services, and $19,364 of that grant will be utilized for training. The title of that training is Alice Training, and it is for active shooter and school threat response, and we'll be bringing information, about that once we get that scheduled.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, let's go to the second information item. Contracts were requiring board notification. Dr. Williams.
Yes, sir. We will be bringing back, we had a contract for the before-mentioned camera system, so we will bring that back amended to the next board meeting once we have identified the location of that camera system.
Any questions, comments? Okay, our Wilson County Schools COVID-19 updates. Dr. Williams.
Yes, sir. For the COVID-19 updates this month, we identified the dashboard numbers for this month. 2 active cases for staff, 1 active case for students. Secondly, we reported out the Wilson County Health Department data. Average cases per day, percent of positive for the last 7 days is 3.2%. And the percent of the population with at least 1 dose of vaccine is 53%. And then we just made note of the February 25th change to the CDC order regarding masks on transportation, and the update to the K-12 toolkit on March 4th to reflect that February 25th update, which is that masks are not required on school buses, activity buses, contract vehicles, and driver's education vehicles, per the new CDC order.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions? Hearing none, let's move to the action items, and the first one being face coverings. And a resolution has been prepared, and I think all of you have had an opportunity to read it with all its whereas and that's, which include the mask being optional in buildings and also transportation. Anyone wish to add any comments? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
I move the full board approve the resolution that's been presented by administration.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Boykin, that the resolution regarding face coverings as presented by the administration and required by state statute be approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer?
Thank you. Our second action item is contracts requiring board approval. And Dr. Williams, if you would share that.
Yes, sir.
List, please.
Our contracts for board approval this month are D&D Transit. This is an amendment to our existing contract to extend the to not exceed amount to $200,000 for the end of this school year. D&D is our contract services that we utilize in transportation. The second contract that we bring to the board for approval is through Angel Tracks to upgrade and provide digital recording cameras and devices for all of our buses in Wilson County Schools for $240,000. We had originally brought Communications International for portable radios for our buses and mobile radios and portable radios for $95,410.80. We will bring that back at a later time, as discussed in our Administrative Services Committee. Group 3, Management. This is for Beddingfield High School track and athletic renovations pending Board of Attorney approval for $1,722,000. This was the bid winner for the track construction and renovations at Bettyfield High School. Musco Sports Lighting. This is for the track project as well. Specifically, this is the lighting for the track and athletic renovations pending attorney review, and it is for $381,872. Progressive Design Collaborative. This contract was for HVAC design services for Barnes Elementary School, Gardner Elementary School, Lee Woodard Elementary School, and Hunt High School for $442,200. They will also handle bids and construction management. And our final contract that we bring for approval is Court 1. This is the company that is the bid winner for the Fike High School tennis court reconstruction, pending attorney review, and it is for $302,161.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Madam Chair,
Yes.
on behalf of the Administrative Services Committee, I move the full board approve D&D Transit contract for $200,000, Angel Tracks for $240,000, Group 3 Management for $1,722,000 pending attorney review, Musco Sports Lighting for $381,872 pending attorney review, Progressive Design Collaborative, $442,200, and Court 1 for $302,161 pending attorney review.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mrs. Powell, that the board approve the contracts for D&D Transit for $200,000, for Angel Tracks for $240,000, Group 3 Management Incorporated for $1,722,000, Musco Sports Lighting LLC for $381,872, Progressive Design Collaborative Limited for $442,200, and Court 1 for $302,161. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer?
Our third action item was the 2021-2022 budget amendments, which included, the first one was Budget Amendment 102, which was a state amendment to increase the budget by $1,660,616, and it was listed as to what those items were. Any questions or comments? Our second amendment was Federal Amendment 302 that increased the federal budget by $486,462, and that was listed on your handout, itemized. Any questions or comments?
I think you said, did you say 486, 468,000?
I said, I meant to say $468,462. That's what I meant to say. I can't declare what I did say, Ms. Boyd.
My ears.
It might have been me. Any further questions, comments? Okay, Budget Amendment 402, capital outlay increased the budget by $3,613,814, which was for B.O. Barnes and Lee Woodard renovations and the Bettyfield track. My Lord. Questions or comments? And Budget Amendment 802, which is Local Special Revenue Fund, increased the budget by $557,750.91, and it was listed below the items that included. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that the full board approve Amendment 102, 302, 402, and 802 as recommended by administration.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Breen, that the board approve budget amendments 102 to the State Public School Fund, 302 for the Federal Fund, 402 Capital Outlay Fund, and 802 Local Special Revenue Fund. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer?
Now, for the item that was added to the agenda, request for funding from the county commissioners,
Yes.
I think Dr. Williams is passing out some information regarding that.
Three
Thank you.
presses to accommodate that
All right.
addition to the agenda.
Yes, sir. I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got it. In case you didn't know.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mercer,
Yes,
what is
ma'am.
being presented, you're going to have three motions to come before
Yes,
us?
ma'am. Do you have a copy of those?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dr. Williams, if you would, the first pre-Cs.
Yes, sir. First pre-Cs will be a request for funding for construction and renovation projects. The administration is requesting approval for the board to request funding from the Wilson County Board of Commissioners for outdoor athletic bathroom renovations for Fike High School, new field house construction for Fike High School and Bedingfield High School, new outdoor athletic bathroom construction for all middle schools, and renovation of field house, outdoor athletic bathroom facilities, concession stand, and track expanded from 6 to 8 lanes for Hunt High School.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that the Wilson County Board of Education request funding from the Wilson County Board of County Commissioners for outdoor athletic bathroom renovations for Fike High School, new field house construction for Fike High School and Bedingfield High School, new outdoor athletic bathroom construction for all middle schools, and renovation for field house, outdoor athletic bathroom facilities, concession stand, and track expanding from 6 to 8 lanes for Hunt High School.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by both Mrs. Powell and Mr. Breen, that the Wilson County Board of Education requests funding from the Wilson County Board of County Commissioners for outdoor athletic bathroom renovations for Fike High School, new field house construction for Fike High School and Bedingfield High School, new outdoor athletic bathroom construction for all middle schools, and renovation of field house, outdoor athletic bathroom facilities, concession stand, and track, expanding it from 6 to 8 lanes for Hunt High School. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer?
Yes, sir. The next item is a request for qualification proposals from architects for construction and renovation projects. The administration requests approval from the board to solicit qualification proposals from architects for outdoor athletic bathroom renovations for Fike High School, new field house construction for Fike High School and Bedingfield High School, new outdoor athletic bathroom construction for all middle schools, and renovation of field house, outdoor athletic bathroom facilities, concession stand, and track expanding from 6 to 8 lanes for Hunt High School.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Madam Chair.
Wait.
Excuse
You
me.
have a hand,
Yes,
Mrs.
ma'am.
Boyette.
I'm trying to reread this. Is Bedingfield, we meant for them to be included, we've already improved bathrooms at Bedingfield, so that's why, okay.
With the track project.
Answer my
for
own
Bedfield.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
I couldn't figure out why Bedingfield's bathrooms, but we've already done that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Star.
No, better to be clear, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
On behalf of, well, it's not on behalf because this is a different circumstance. Madam Chair, I move that the Wilson County Board of Education approves solicitation of requests for qualifications for proposals from architects to perform the following: outdoor athletic bathroom renovations for Fike High School, new field house construction for Fike High School and Bedingfield High School, new outdoor athletic bathroom construction for all middle schools, and renovation of field house, outdoor athletic bathroom facilities, concession stand, and track expanded from 6 to 8 lanes for Hunt High School.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mrs. Powell, that the Board of Education approve solicitation of requests for qualifications or RFQs for proposals from architects to perform the following: an outdoor athletic bathroom renovations for Fike High School, new field house construction for Fike High School and Bedingfield High School, new outdoor athletic bathroom construction for all middle schools, and the renovation of the field house, outdoor athletic bathroom facilities, concession stand, and track to expand from 6 to 8 lanes for Hunt High School. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
And, yes, sir, the final item is to define for the RFQ the scope of work for the Hunt High School track. The scope of work for the Hunt High School track will be the same scope of work as the Bedingfield High School track, which does include the bathroom renovations, the ADA upgrades, lighting, all of those items. So same scope of work, and it is a renovation, so it would be in the same location as where the track is located now.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that Wilson County Board of Education require the RFQ for Hunt High School track to meet the following conditions. The scope of work for the Hunt High School track will be the same scope of work as the Bedingfield High School track, and the location of the new Hunt High School track will remain the same as the current high school track.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mrs. Powell, that the Board of Education require the RFQ for Hunt High School track to meet the following conditions: that the scope of the work for Hunt High School track will be the same scope of work as the Bedingfield High School track, and that the location of the new Hunt High School track will remain the same as the current Hunt High School track. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously.
Madam Chair, that completes our report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mercer. Members of the board, the next item on the agenda is for the is the Instructional Services Committee. That committee met this afternoon, and we had 5 informational items, and there are 4 action items. The first is the contracts requiring board notification for instructional services. There being 2 contracts to be let, one for Software House International, which is an endpoint security renewal system in the amount of $32,011.51. And the second being for CDWG, which is to be provided for CTE computer lab for Bedingfield High School in the amount of $49,412.01. Is there anything that I need to add in regard to either of those contracts?
We've been using the first one for several years. It's just that the increase in price
Right,
put it over the 30,000.
okay. And the second one was an upgrade of the computer lab systems, correct?
Correct, at Bedingfield.
At Bedingfield, yes. Any questions? The second informational item is the revision of policy 6313, other employees as bus drivers. This was a first read. Is there any discussion? Our basic change in that was that we are removing the term pocket card and adding the terminology in a DOT, Department of Transportation, medical certification, and indicating that those employees who are driving based on the required job duties will be reimbursed for those. There will be a slight editorial change in the stating that those who drive at the school only may be reimbursed, so there will be a little language change. And the other part was in regard to policy 7500, workday and overtime.
And the effective date was
Oh,
listed.
yes, the effective date going back to February 1st, 2018. Any questions or discussion? The next policy is 7240, drug-free and alcohol-free workplace. This too is a first read. Are there any questions in regard to this particular policy? Hearing none. The third is a draft administrative regulation regarding collection solicitations and fundraising. There were a couple of points that were raised but were clarified in the language that was provided. And the last information item dealt with administrative regulation 7440, or procedure for employee-initiated transfer. We already had policy for administrative transfers, but this is in relation to employees asking for or initiating transfer requests. Are there any questions? Hearing none. We're going to move over to our action items. As soon as I can get to my right page. The first of the items is calling for contracts requiring board notification. Members of the, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, thank you so much. I'm reminded, Mr. Mercer, I'm going to turn this over to you because these are the action items.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Borkin. This action item is in regard to Board Policy 6420, it being over the amount or the threshold which will require the board to take action prior to this amount for $111,948. The administration up to $90,000 can present for information. This is for the use of Gaggle, which is the business for mail monitoring for our emails and the like. It is a type of geofencing program which tracks use of certain phrases that trigger a human response, not an electronic email response to our principals, and particularly in this day and time of need among our students after the pandemic, with issues of mental health coming into play. We find that it is necessary to be ever more vigilant in following and making sure that our students remain safe, so that certain words can trigger a need to look at the emails that may be going between our students or coming from our students. So Gaggle is a service that the State Department of Public Instruction now endorses. We've had a previous monitoring program, but the state is now endorsing this particular company because of its more intricate following of student information. And it is the recommendation, and therefore I'm going to make a motion that the board approve the awarding of the Gaggle mail monitoring service to Gaggle in the amount of $111,948.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the full board approve contract with Gaggle in the amount of $111,948 as recommended. Any further discussion or questions? Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure this is, and I know the answer is yes, but this is only for the Wilson County Schools email addresses and things coming in and coming out.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make that abundantly clear
yes.
before people start getting worried about their personal emails and things that are being sent over the school network.
Now, this is for our school network, and so for our student,
Just the school emails, not necessarily what's being transmitted over like school Wi-Fi.
well, the students have use of their school emails even on their personal computers.
I agree with.
That traffic's already filtered through other means, so it's not gonna be filtered through that.
Okay.
That's two separate products and processes. Although both should meet acceptable use policies.
I've got acceptable use policy.
There you go. But this only electronic mail through those addresses, through that gateway server. Yep.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. It passes unanimously.
Next was revised policy 6340, transportation service vehicle contracts. This is a second read in regard to our transportation services. There were no changes from the last reading of this policy. Therefore, Mr. Vice Chair, I move that the board approve as a second read revised policy 6340, transportation service vehicle contracts.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the Wilson County Board approve revised policy 6340, transportation service and vehicle contracts as recommended. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. It passes unanimously.
Next is draft policy 7720, employee political activities. This too comes as a second read to the board. And upon the adoption of this policy, we would need to repeal Wilson County Schools Policy 7720, employee, community, and political activities. It is, again, the second read, and Mr. Vice Chair, I move that the board approve the draft policy 7720, employee political activities as a second read, and upon approval, automatically repeal policy 7720, employee, community, and political activities.
Second. Not second.
You second. It's been moved and properly seconded that the board approve draft policy 7720, employee political activities as a second reading, and also repeal the previous policy 7720, employee, community, and political activities as recommended. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. It passes unanimously.
Thank you. The final item is revised policy 8305, federal grant administration. This too is a second read policy. There were very little changes that were made. They were found in red, and then you have a clean copy. Therefore, I move, Mr. Vice Chair, that revised policy 8305, federal grant administration, be approved as a second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the board approve revised policy 8305, federal grant administration as a second reading, as presented. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It passes unanimously.
You turning it back, sir?
Yes, it's all yours.
Oh, okay.
Keep that power as long as you can, Mr. Mayor.
I need to have another second to flex my muscle.
All right.
Coursing through my veins.
Mrs. Barnes?
Madam Chair, I move that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 6 and 115C-319 through 321 to consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G to consult with the Board of Education attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Barnes, seconded by Mrs. Boyette, that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 6 and 115C-319 through 321 to consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402 in the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20, United States Code 1232G, to consult with the Board of Education attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously.